Hi y'all. I am going live. I haven't done this in a long time. I got my wine. Let me add some people. Invite. I don't know who to invite. Oh. Hi. I'm going live. Instagram sent me some crap talking about I can make money going live. I'm not really a go live person. I like to edit out my mistakes. Hi there. I am bad with names. Adele Solabowitz. You've always commented on me and I love you. You are so encouraging. Thank you for always commenting on my posts. Hi, Sexy D 1976. So I'm going live. I haven't done it in a while. I got my wine. If I'm going to make money from it, I guess I need to get used to it. Anyways, a lot's been going on in my world. My baby is going to school. Can you believe that? She's supposed to go to school 2 years ago, actually. Due to circumstance, she didn't go to school. The first circumstance was they rejected her. I put her in this program that I was in, actually, in Boston. If you're from Boston, you know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to throw them under the bus tonight. So I put her on the list for this program, which was kind of like a charter school, long story. So anyways, you put them on when they're like born because you're trying to make the list, right? So I didn't know she was autistic at this point. Like, I didn't know that till she was like 2 or 18 months to 2. So they came up and called me for the list at like 5. So she would have been in kindergarten, right? So I go to the meeting and I'm like, well, do you take disabled children? And they're like, disability does not denote a rejection. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So I sought out the CEO who was also at the meeting. I asked the same question because, you know, when the underlings say stuff, you don't listen, right? And she said the same things. Disabilities does not denote a rejection. So then my next question was, do you have a special needs bus? And they were like, nope, never had one. We can't afford the transportation we have now. And I'm like, well, damn, then there goes the freaking rejection, right? There's no special needs bus. So it's a lottery. So I was like, how do you fight a lottery, right? The other autism moms were like, you do it, you can do it. And you know, you're that type of person, you can do it. I wasn't really feeling it because I felt like my plate was already too damn full. But I was like, okay. So then I'm talking to my aunt. And I'm like, it's a lottery. Like, I don't even have sibling preference. Like, how am I going to do this, you know? And she's like, go to the public record. God be putting people in your way to get you to the next step, for real, for real. So I go to the public record and I start making all these public record requests. And at first I asked, well, how many kids with autism has been in this program? And they're like, oh, well, we only been counting since 2004. And they said 12, which is not a lot. And I said, well, autism's kind of hard because autism is a range, right? It's a spectrum. You know, my child needs more services than maybe somebody else's child who could just ride a regular bus. So then I put another request in and I was like, well, I listed like 12 disabilities, like cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, wheelchair. You know, I listed all of them to see what they'd say. And then an autism mom, this is why you need to keep your network tight, okay? An autism mom, and if she's on here, she knows who I'm talking about because she does follow all my stuff and we are friends. Was a lawyer, is a lawyer, not was, she is a lawyer and she's exceptional. And she wrote me a letter citing all the precedents and everything, and I sent it to them. And I'm sure these people are like, who is this bitch? Like, who is she, right? Who is she? You know, because you could tell they were kind of scared and standoffish. And I'm an email beast. email beast. So I had went to the Department of Education's website and copied everybody's email on the board. I sent it to the, like, by the time I sent out my email with the legal backing from that letter she told me just to put my name on, I had 30 emails. 30 emails. Because I'm like, if I'm going to blow up the spot, let's blow up the spot, right? So they contacted me. Well, their underling, this woman who don't like me and I don't like her. And the reason I don't like her is because she never answered a question. You know what I mean? If I said something, she'd be like, well, Miss, I hear you're saying this, this, and this. I said, but I asked you a direct question. So are you saying you agree? Oh, well, I'm not saying that. I hear you saying, really. And I really felt like they sent her out to me because she was black. I felt like she was the only black one in the office of the Department of Education, right? So they kind of sent her to deal with me. And, you know, no tea, no shade. I wasn't trying to get the child's job lost. I know what it's like being the only black person in a white office. But I still don't take no shit because we're talking about my baby. My baby. You know what I mean? So I had to put in a DESE complaint. They said I had to put in a Department of Education, whatever, complaint. So I put in a complaint and I'm waiting, but I don't just wait. I start hitting up everybody, right? I didn't even know at this time who my state senator was, okay? Like, who else didn't get educated with politics until Trump got elected, right? I mean, I'm coming from a bill turns into a law on Schoolhouse Rock. Like, I didn't know how none of this mess worked, but I was going to find out, right? So I find out who my representative is, my House and Senate representative. I start calling them. You never actually get them on the phone. You get their aides. Fine. Then I took a day off work and went down to the Department of Discrimination in the federal building downtown, and that was a waste of time. Basically, this agency that places kids, it doesn't take federal money. It was state, right? It doesn't take federal money, so they had no jurisdiction. And then I tried to get to the governor. That didn't work. The mayor. I put in an attorney general complaint. Now, this is all before they answered what side they were going to fall on, right? So I was I was doing work. And at the same time, I was trying to find a lawyer because I would have sued the pants off them. If I had some money, I would have went to a lawyer's office and just sued the pants off them, right? Which they told me they were scared of. Like, one of the top guys had me on a three-way and told me they were scared, right? So then the place I'm trying to put her in, let's just call it ABC. ABC, I'm trying to get her in this program. The transportation guy who worked at the transportation, because, you know, I put my cell phone number on every email. You can call on me. So he calls out the blue. And I asked him, I said, well, have you ever had a special needs bus? He's like, I've been working here 40 years and we ain't never had a special needs bus. Boom, right? So there was a lot of shucking and jiving going on. So I wait. Now we're up to 70 days that they've had this complaint. On the website, they said the most is 60 days. So now when we get up to 100 days that they have not answered my complaint. So the guy I was working with was like the intro guy, you know, the one that do the paperwork and, you know, monitor everything, but he don't make the decisions. And at first, he told me they were going to be on my side, like they were going to fall on my side. And then tables turned because I kept talking to homeboy and he was like, they're not going to be on your side. And it's been in legal for like a month, right? So it's been sitting in a legal office for a month. I don't call the Attorney General, and the Attorney General was like, well, we can't really police another state agency because we're a state agency, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, whatever. So 120 days passed. Now I got the state aides, like the senators of, you know, Massachusetts calling or whatever. And then they said, well, she even had the governor, the email on there, and the state aides like, well, she can email who she want to. Right? So then they still didn't give it to me, right? So once I finally got this thing after I done laid these people out. Like, I done laid these people out. Because I'm like, if I'm going to go for broke, I'm going for broke. I'm going to talk so much shit. It's going to be ridiculous. So what happened was the best person I had in this whole situation was the secretary. And the reason she was the best person was because I figured out who was the boss of who. That's the thing. Are you talking to the underlings, or are you talking to the people that actually make decisions? Are you talking to the people who actually can change something? Are you talking to their employees like 3 times removed and nothing's going to happen, right? So once she told me the hierarchy, right? The hierarchy, I was like, no, one person called me. I was like, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to so-and-so, which is your boss. Right? And I'd call in and specifically ask for these people, right? Opposed to them just giving me who they wanted me to talk to kind of calm me down or whatever. So I told them, I called up, I was so fed up at this point, right? So fed up. Our education commissioner in Massachusetts, Boston, I think his name is Jeffrey somebody, right? I called up, well, first of all, I found out who's over the Department of Education. That was the key. So over the Department of Education is the executive office. Who knew that? That little tidbit just fell in my lap. And I was like, well, who runs the executive office? Some guy named Pizer. Okay. So I call up the Department of Education and say, I want to talk to Jeff, whatever his name was, right? And they're like, what? You know, like everybody's like, excuse me? And then, you know, I get his secretary on the phone and I'm like, or executive assistant, whatever they calling her. I was like, I want to talk to Pizer. Well, you know, and they're trying to talk me out of it. And I said, well, maybe I need to call the executive office and talk to Pizer over there and let him know that Jeffrey Riley's office is, you know, ass backward, is not doing anything it's supposed to do. And I'm a constituent that pays taxes and he ain't handling it. Maybe that's what I need to do, because I want to talk to Pizer. And they're double talking me and stuff. And I'm like, why can't I talk to Pizer? Well, I will help you. What do you need? Like, all of a sudden, it's what do you need? And stuff like that. So then the secretary promised. I mean, like, this chick was like promising on her life. I liked her though. Promising on her life that she will get back to me today or tomorrow. She did. She was a woman on her word, because I call, I mean, I'm at the point, I don't know who the hell Pizer is other than somebody, the head of the executive office that I saw on the web. Whatever. They didn't know that, right? They know I already had state aides calling in. I mean, I had everybody, because why does it take you 100+ days to answer if you agree with me or not? Right? It said on your website 60 days, right? And they still, at this point, they still ain't gave it to me. So me and this one guy get into it. The guy who's over, like, they're waiting for sign-offs or whatever. And he's like, well, we on a three-way. Conference call with the girl I didn't like, the one black girl, and but that's okay, she didn't like me either, and because I was making her job difficult. And the guy, some white guy, and he's like, well, we don't want to be known as the department that doesn't do what it's supposed to do, but something like I'm just supposed to shut up and let it go. So I said, oh, homegirl, you're on here. Did you just hear what he said? Am I supposed to just shut up and let this go? He didn't say shut up, but you know. Let's cut to the chase. You telling me to shut up and wait for it, right? And then she starts double talking for him. Oh, he didn't mean it like that. So once I asked for the commissioner of education, I'm dropping names like Pizer or whatever, and don't make me go up to, you know, talk to senators and all this other mess, right? On a Wednesday night at 7 p.m. This is how I know they were shaking, right? His chief of staff calls me from her personal cell phone. Now, here's what she fucked up. She should have never called me from her personal cell phone. Because you know a bitch saved it. Save. Contact. I could barely spell her name. I figured it out. I spelled it all crazy, but I kept that number, which is key. And she's like, well, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Now, all of a sudden, everybody wants to do conference calls, right? So I get on this conference call. It's just little old me. Hold on, sorry. I'm turning the AC. Hope it ain't too loud. So it's just little old me with like 8 people. They're all kind of talking over each other. And I'm like, look, y'all need to stop talking over each other. I don't understand what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? One person at a time. And they're trying to convince me of this and that. I said, well, what are you looking for? And I said, I'm looking for you not to discriminate against my child. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a fair and equitable education or whatever. So I'm going back and forth. Ain't nothing really being accomplished, right? So I'm listening to this mess. And I'm like, oh, whatever, right? Because I ain't scared of nobody. So then I get the paperwork. Like, they finally send me the decision. It was one freaking page. And basically, they didn't agree with me at all. Nope. They weren't discriminating, blah, 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 right? Here's the twist. Remember all that back work I was doing? Like, I went to the Department of Discrimination. I put in a civil rights complaint with the Attorney General. It came back in the end. The Attorney General called the Department of Education and told them that they were breaking the law. Now, mind you, after this happened, I could never get that Attorney General department back on the phone ever again. But they called the Civil Rights Department, or the disability, one of their departments. It wasn't Marsha Healy, the actual Attorney General. It was this chick that I could never get on the phone again, but she called there and told them that they were breaking the law. Once that happened, shit totally changed. Shit turned on a freaking dime. Now they want to talk to me. Now they want to change policies and all this mess. The schools, one school rejected her. 2 schools rejected her because when I put that group on blast about disabilities, they did send out her file. And two schools rejected her because they had her IEP. They had her IEP for when she was 3. At this point, she was 5, right? So one school rejected her because they didn't have the services, right? And you know, every public school should have the services, but they outsource the services. So it was a public school, and like, you know, they outsourced the services. So that wasn't something she could get into. The other school, which was the better school, actually said her IEP was outdated. Like, how do you reject somebody based on the IEP outdated? You know they messed up there. Messed up. So when all this came out, that school was like, what happened? And I sent them the email that was sent to me saying they rejected her, right? But now they could be, you know, fighting lawsuits or something. So they changed all that, right? So then they changed the policy for charter schools, tech schools in this program, like they were all under the charter school umbrella under the Department of Education. I still didn't like the policy because it was the bare minimum, but my child got in and another child got in, right? My thing is, I can't really advocate for this program because I don't really know people with autistic kids putting them in this program for the lottery. How would I know? You know what I'm saying? It's not like I don't have I'm from here, but I spent 15 years in Atlanta. So, I mean, and I'm an older mom. So, I mean, the people that had kids that I went to high school with, their kids are like in college. They're like grandparents. So, you know, we're not fighting the same fight. And then to know who's an autism mom and who ain't, like, and they live in the city of Boston to even apply for this program, because you gotta live in the city of Boston. Right. So the autism moms that I know that I met along the way, One got her daughter into the program in a different school. She loves the school. So Ava was supposed to go to this school last year, right? But because of COVID, and they were still working out what they would, like in September, they were still having school board meetings. So I kept her in the autism center for another year because I was scared. She has epilepsy. The neurologist was like, oh, it's not good if she gets COVID, blah, 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 blah. So we did home ABA for like a couple months, and then she ended up back in the autism center. I knew she was ready for education, but something was better than freaking nothing. So now she is going to school, okay? Yes, mommy fought, and I'm in love with this school so far. It's a brand new school in this town, and she has a one-on-one. The teacher, I had actually met her pre-COVID, and she asked the special needs director if Ava could be in her class, and that's her teacher. Like, everything is working out. I'm still scared as hell. I ain't gonna not claim a bitch ain't scared, 'cause I'm scared. My baby got no words. She can't tell me if someone's messing with her. She can't at this point. I'm still keeping hope alive. My baby gonna talk. But if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm an open book. I'm gonna be on here a while because Ava's asleep. I got my wine. Need to loosen up a little to do live. Loosen up to do a little live. So how y'all autistic babies doing? I've been on my social media grind. My son is nonverbal too, ain't it? See, people don't understand when you have a child with no words. And I mean, children are stressful anyway. Autism parents is on a whole nother level, right? Especially where they are on the spectrum, right? But that nonverbal baby, that baby who lay on the ground and throw a fit because you don't understand what they want, that baby you dragging to the doctors. I mean, we done been to urgent care so many freaking times. And my I used to smoke Newports. I don't smoke no more. I haven't smoked in 10 years. I'm not gonna smoke a Newport, sorry. I know that one puff will bring me back to buying packs a day. No thanks. Especially when they $10 a pack. But anyways, what happened? Oh, so we done been to, well, Ava has seizures. So we've been in these hospitals every 3 months through COVID. Like, knock on wood, this new medical protocol will work. Yeah, so medical protocol will work. But we go to urgent care a lot because I don't know if she's hurt, or, you know, if she has an ear infection, if she has a urinary tract. I don't know anything. So they know me. Actually, this one urgent care we used to go to all the time just because it was convenient, but she won't wear a mask, so we can't go there anymore. So we go to like her doctor's urgent care because I can roll in there with a face shield, and you know, she be acting a plumb damn fool at the doctors, but you know, they go with it. They go with it. So yeah, that nonverbal baby, that nonverbal, you know, I give this child some food she don't want. She give me this look like, you know, I ain't eating this. Like, you know, like, why are you even trying me? She gives me these dirty looks, and she cusses me out in her nonverbal language like all the time. I'll be like, don't be cussing at me, you know, because you're like, ah. And she mean it. She mean it. He uses a device to speak now, and we always go to urgent care too because he's always holds his fingers in his ear and his toe. Right? So she kept patting her ear. Patting it. Now, if she talked, I would say, does your ear hurt? No. Pat, pat. So I bring her to urgent care. And I hate to say it, urgent care is easier than the doctor's office, right? Urgent cares are in and out. You ain't got to really make an appointment, whatever. Whereas the doctor's office, I got to take time off work. I got to make an appointment. I got to take her out of the autism center. Well, she's not going there anymore. But, you know, it's the only, like, weekdays. Urgent care is Saturdays, Sundays, in the evening. So Oh, okay. So, urgent care Saturday, Sunday on the weekend. So that just seems to work out better. So I take her to urgent care, and I be trying to get everything done. I said, okay, she patting her ears, check her ears. She got this little rash right here. What can, one time I went to urgent care, and they're like, oh, well, you can buy some Claritin at Walgreens. I was pissed. I was like, I did all this to get some freaking Claritin at Walgreens? I said, at least you can write me a prescription for Claritin so I don't have to pay for it. And she did, but I was so... I mean, she ain't had nothing major happen at this urgent care but her being aggravated every time we go to the doctor. I mean, she won't sit on the table. They got to do everything with her sitting on the chair. And then there's one nurse, she like slammed it up, right? So she was being, Ava was not being willing, right? So she was like, oh, let me do it on mommy first. So she pretended to look at my ear, or pretended to take my pulse or whatever, and she went for it. Ever since then, I'm like, pretend like you're doing it on me first. And that seems to work. It really does seem to work. So yeah, we're at urgent care a lot. That nonverbal though, I feel like I haven't met one nonverbal parent, a parent of a nonverbal child who doesn't fantasize about their children talking one day. Like, I don't know, sometimes you get shamed in these autism forums about wanting your child to talk. But I want my child to talk. If ultimately she doesn't, I'll deal with it, but I'm not gonna lie, I want her to talk. Any more questions? We rolling. I don't even know how long I've been on this thing. Can I tell? I'm excited about her going to school. I really feel she's ready for some education here and learning how to spell and read. You know what? So when I met the teacher in the BCBA, right? So, okay, so what happened at the Autism Center, right? I do believe God is able. Sexy 69 Chocolate, he is. At the Autism Center, the original speech therapist, the first speech therapist she had, said some derogatory shit about my child, right? So what happened was I took her to an outside speech therapist. That speech therapist leaves and they get a new one. This was years ago because she was there for 4 years. And the new speech therapist tells the outside speech therapist, I know I keep saying speech therapist, that the original speech therapist said she wasn't going to work on her talking because she felt she would never talk. And I'm like, if I knew that. Well, she hasn't had her first day yet. Her first day is the 9th, but we visited the school yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. So anyways, oh my God. So when I met the outside speech therapist, I was like, she also made a comment about thinking she'd never talk. And I told her, if you can't be optimistic or positive, we're not coming here. And she took that to heart, too. We ain't seen her in like over a year due to COVID, too. She said her business boomed during COVID because, people couldn't find services, right? After she got vaccinated, she said her business was off the chain. She didn't even have to work on the weekends no more. So, the Autism Center, because ABA is all based on data, right? All based on data. So, if they're not getting success, this is something I disagree with. If they're not getting success, they stop doing it, right? And work on other things. And I was like, well, I don't care if you get success. You need to continue working on it. And somebody said to me, well, your insurance doesn't pay. Your insurances don't pay if there's not progress. So I called my insurance friend at the Autism Center. We became friends over the years because we've done fight a few insurance battles. And I asked her about it. And she was like, well, that is true for some insurances, but not yours. Right? That's all I needed to hear. I called the meeting. And I'm like, you're going to put this back on the treatment plan, this back on the treatment plan, and this back on the treatment plan. And they're like, I said, oh, do you need me to call the insurance commissioner or do whatever? And they're like, nope, we'll put it back on. A month later, she started repeating sound. Like, she can repeat ma, she can repeat e and ah. Wasn't doing that before, and that was one of the things they wanted to take off the treatment plan. So I know a lot of people aren't the biggest fans of ABA. I really feel, for me, I had no other course of action, because there was 4 years ago. Well, okay, so when she was in early intervention, she had an OT, she had a regular early intervention, and you know, ABA came once the diagnosis came, right? They weren't really offering anything else, you know, other than preschool. Like, they weren't offering any other kind of treatment. I don't even really know what's an alternative to ABA, and also, where do you find it, right? Because they weren't offering much. Matter of fact, the autism center she ended up going to was like the only game in town for her age range at the time. And this is what networking will do for you. So I had met one girl, and we friends to this day. She's my autism sister journey, right? I was on my autism team, and it was like the Facebook of autism, right? MyAutismTeam.com. My cousin has an autistic son, and she told me about it, but she said, watch out for my autism team, because it could be very depressing on how people, it could be very depressing on how people, because, you know, people are like bitching, talking about putting their kids in cages and shit. I was like, oh my God, like, this was team too much. Yeah, the process can be a lot. There needs to be an update in the policy. My son's program ABA based, but I'm crazy, mom, and monitor the shit out of. Oh no, I'm a monitor this too. The only thing is, like, I did as much as I could working, right? You know, matter of fact, today was my last parent training meeting, and I've been to parent training meetings once every 2 weeks for the past 3 years. Because I wanted to know exactly what she's doing, what she's learning, how she's learning it, so I could reinforce it at home. Anyways, so what was I talking about? Oh, so yeah, like, I didn't really, okay, so Ava has a global delay, right? Her intelligence has never been tested. The developmental pediatrician told me it's not worth it until she's like 7 or 8. And she's 7 now. And we might do it later, but, you know, I'm not worried about that now. She needs to start school. But, like, I was bringing a child that didn't know how to feed herself, couldn't do the basics. I mean, she had just learned how to walk downstairs at 3. And she wasn't doing it great. You know what I'm saying? So she was really, really behind. And I feel like ABA, this is when I got sold on ABA, right? So it was ABA in the house at first, before the autism center. And I was home this particular day, because my mom was usually home when they came. And she's like, oh no, she can eat by herself. She's just playing you. I was like, what? She's just playing me, because, you know, I kept putting the spoon all around her hand, putting it to her mouth. She'd drop it, right? And I'm sitting there, right? Your time right now is, you need it, right? So I'm sitting there, and she's like, she's playing you. She can do it. And she's like, mommy's not going to help you. You need to feed yourself. And she picked that thing up and fed herself. This would blew my mind. Like, the child was playing me, right? So then I started to realize that I was doing too much for her, just assuming she couldn't do it, and she was letting me, right? I mean, there was a lot of things I've learned along the way. Like, I wasn't even giving her a chance to do it. But I can't say that ABA hasn't contributed a lot. Meaning, like, put on your shoes, put on your socks. Like, they did that. I didn't do that. There's a lot of stuff they did I didn't do, you know, to get her to the next level. There's certain things I didn't like. But one big thing is the turnover. Like, I loved it when I feel like ABA out of a school setting, like a half an hour here and there, is good for that 3 to 5. Like, If it was a perfect world, she would have been in school at kindergarten. But 3 to 5, I felt ABA is decent. I still feel that people who are dealing with more severe autism, like Ava's moderate. It is a lot of redirecting, it seems. It is. Ava's moderate. She's not high functioning. She's in the middle. I hear her coughing. Yeah, I feel like when you're on that severe autism spectrum, ABA can be vital because, you know, there's a lot of basic skills that these kids are learning and it's difficult for them. And I just don't know of an alternative. That's my beef. What's the alternative? Is ABA or nothing? You know what I mean? I do feel Ava will do better being around other kids. Meaning ABA Autism Center, it was more one-on-one, focused on her, one-on-one. And she wasn't really around other kids other than lunchtime or whatever. And now, and COVID just made it 10 times worse. Like, they weren't even doing the lunch. She got to eat in her little section, right? But now, I'm happy that I talked to the teacher and half the kids are verbal. That's cool, too, that half the kids are verbal. And they got a bathroom in the room. I like that. Ava's been doing great on the potty train. We ain't had accidents in months on top of months. Knock on wood. Months on top of months. The progress has definitely been there. You know what the game changer was for the nonverbal child, though? Was that damn speech device. That was the game changer. I feel like people felt, if for lack of a better word, that she was stupid. Like, she didn't know things that she know. But yeah, that's part. Having more options would be good. Right. Like, they kind of tie your hands when there's no options. They're not saying, oh, here's the Denver model, and we're doing this over here. I heard of the Denver model. I ain't see nobody advertise the Denver model, right? Her autism center is play-based, though. I guess that is the Denver model. Like, I don't even know what the Denver model is. But her autism center is play-based. Her autism. She ain't even going to be there no more after Wednesday. So, this is not her autism center anymore. It's in the past. It's a little scary. We've been here 4 years. Longer than I would have liked. But I'm glad to have options, right? But she... Also, with her, I don't know if she regressed because of her seizures either. Like, she's had a lot of seizures along the way. I guess I can't say a lot because there's kids who have definitely more and more often. Dylan's at an autism partner program goes into inclusion throughout the day. See, that's key. That inclusion is key because I feel like, you know, they mimic the other kids if they pay attention to them, right? And, that's good though, that inclusion piece. Ava's gonna be in a total sub-separate. I really feel though, if Ava functionally talked, and this was the developmental pediatrician said too, if she functionally talked, that she feels she wouldn't be as delayed as she is. Oh no, you need to look at my old video. She be slamming it with that device. She's not really like saying sentences, but I feel like she has over 100 words, maybe 150. She knows all her numbers, colors. She knows like pictures, like cow, whatever. Oh, so she surprised me. If you go to my autism thing, she surprised me because I said this is a hug, right? And she didn't know what the picture was. And she went to the letter find and she put in an H. And found the word hug. Ascent 800. Ava uses a NovaChat, which we actually got through insurance. I can't believe they charge so much for it when it's just a Samsung tablet with a freaking app on it. But I think they charge the insurance like $5,000 for this thing. Touch Chat is similar to NovaChat, so I just don't feel comfortable dragging this $5,000 device outside the house. But I want her to have more accessibility to it, right? So, they said you can put Touch Chat on a iPad and use the file from NovaChat to like if you get the expensive version, and it'll work, like it'll set up the same, which is cool. So I was telling the school about this, and they said they might get me a license for free, because I have an old iPad from my cousin who was giving it to my mom, who we got our station. Yeah, right. I mean, and so the touch chat is, the app is $300 and it's only on iPad, right? I'm an Android girl, but we got a couple iPads. Now we got iPads. But I'm hoping I can get it from the school for free. I know, like, I just don't understand that expensive price tag on these I really feel they're gang insurance, because to be honest, you can just buy Procleo Go or all these other ones that are a lot cheaper in the App Store, you know? But whatever, we got one. She's had it for 3 years. It's been 3 years. If you want to look at my old videos, go to Boston Girl TV on YouTube. I have Autism Mom Strong on Facebook or whatever, and I chronicle all her videos, because I started doing homeschool with her. And homeschool is loosely like 3 or 4 times a week we work on things for like an hour. Because what happened was the Autism Center said she knew her colors, and then she didn't know her colors, and I didn't like that. So I was like, me and her are gonna work on her colors. And within a week, she knew her colors. The accent is its own device. No app is pretty good, right? But $9,000? Who got $9,000? Like, some of these insurances ain't willing to pay for it, and I don't feel like these kids should be denied what they need to communicate, right? She has Medicaid. Well, I have my main insurance, and then she has an additional insurance that pays the difference, and that's what paid for that device. Massachusetts is pretty good. I'm not a big fan of Boston. I'm from Boston. Not a big fan of Boston. But for autism, it's the better state to be in, to be honest. Wright had to fight to, I mean, we had to jump through some massive hoops to get that damn NovaChat. Even though the speech therapist at Boston Children was like, yeah, she needs it. I mean, they wanted me to do write-ups of what she can do with this and that. But to be honest, she was at the Autism Center 40 hours a week. How much was I really doing at home? You know what I mean? So now, you know, 3 times a week in COVID, you know, I'm already home and I'm picking her up and dropping her off or whatever, which wasn't happening before. I had to be on the all other side of town while she went the other way. That we were doing homeschool. And I really, in the first couple of months from COVID, you know, they were doing like the ABA through Zoom and telling me what to do. So I kind of learned a few tricks of the trade. But yeah, I have to say, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for autism. Like, when I first got the diagnosis, I didn't really know what it meant. Like, my cousin's son is 13 now, so she had told me they diagnosed him with autism when he was 2. And I listened, but I didn't really know what it meant or connected the dots. I feel a little ignorant that I didn't really even look into it. You know, I was just like, oh, okay. You know, he's gonna have a few challenges. Oh, okay. But you know, now I'm well versed. I remember when I went to that first IEP meeting, scared to death. And they were talking to me in such a tone that I didn't appreciate. You know, you could tell when people kind of talking down to you and you need to just do what they say type shit. I knew I was unmatched. I was in a territory I didn't like. So I immediately started looking for an advocate. He didn't do much, but when he was sitting there, their whole tone changed. The way they talked to me changed. And it wasn't even actually the people doing the test. It was the coordinator. The coordinator talked to me better. Right? So, that advocate was worth the money. I don't care. He asked like 3 questions, but the whole tone of the meeting was different when he was sitting there. I guess they realized I wasn't playing. Now I feel like I could be my own advocate, or people want, people want me to go at IEP meetings with them or whatever. And that's only just educating myself and feeling like I don't have to put up with what they're throwing down. Like we were arguing the last IEP I had to do with my location before she went to the school, right? And I wanted a one-on-one. Yeah, the tone is just the most like they're doing you a favor. No, I'm paying for your paycheck. You're not doing me no favors. So we're in the meeting, and I was like, well, she's coming from ABA. She's, she's always had one person with her. I wanted a one-on-one. And the woman started arguing with me like, oh, well, we can't do that. Here we promote independence, whatever. And I basically, now mind you, there was like 16 people on the call. It was the autism center, it was the new school, the old school, and all these people that did tests, right? So I told her, I'm not arguing with you. You're not the one that makes the decisions. What do I got to do next? Appeal? Because I'll appeal. To hell, I'll appeal all the way to the top. And she's like, the other school is like, the one she's actually going to was like, he interjected even though he was just there to listen. And he was like, well, that's our model. We hear what they're saying, but our model is one-on-one. I said, oh, well, I guess ain't nothing to argue about. So that was that. That was that. But no, I realized I don't got to put up with nothing. Once they know you're the real deal. Oh, yeah. So this is a hilarious one. So we get in the program, because remember, she was supposed to go last year. I go to the meeting, the meeting with all the parents. And I meet the director of the school she's going to, the director of the program. And I said, I introduced myself, and I'm kind of giving her the backstory. And she's like, oh no, I heard about you. I don't want that smoke. We good. She heard about me. Everybody be hearing about me. You know what? I want, what did I say? I want to be loved and feared at the same time. Is that backwards? Like, I want to be loved and feared. I'll work with you, but don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with my child. Don't mess with her education. None of that. No. And I'm not going to ask for anything outlandish, but like this new school got food therapy. And I'm like, well, how do I get her into this food therapy? So I had the OT at the autism center write something up. So once she starts school, they're going to do the IEP over in a month. And I wanted to her in the food therapy. The child eats 4 things. And it's been regression because she used to could feed herself, but now she don't eat anything that has to go on a spoon or a fork. So I don't know if she can do it or she just don't. I mean, the limitation on food, I don't even know how this child gains weight. I can't figure out how this child gains weight. That's how they feel about me here. Oh, here it comes. Yeah, right? Right. That's what I want them to feel about me. Here comes Ava's mom. Here she come. Right? And I'm all good if you all good. Because I remember when I had it out with the autism center. And I'm on the phone, like the Zoom, and it's like 4 of them. And one I knew from back in the day because I had it out with them before. Like, I don't play no games. Like, I don't feel like you're doing me no favors. You need to do better if you need to do better. Yeah, food is another one, right? So they were like, well, let's show you the data or something. I said, I don't want to see no data. You should have shown me that before. I want to know why you taking all this stuff off the the treatment plan. Well, you know what's funny? In Boston, there's no such thing as food therapy in the schools. They don't even offer it. With the school she's going to, once I heard they offered it, I was on it. And I was trying my best to figure out how to get her in the program. Like, so that's why I had the OT at the autism center write something up so I don't have to backtrack when it's time. And they didn't deny it. They didn't say she in it. but they didn't deny her either. Because the funny thing is, Ava doesn't really eat sugar either. Like, legit, her foods is American white cheese, snap peas, celery, carrots, apples, bananas, what else? And it just goes down. Their whole demeanor changes when they see you coming, like, oh Lord. Yep, they do. They don't offer that in public either here. So I had to make sure. Right. So the funny thing is, I cannot feed Ava out in the street. She don't eat nuggets. She don't eat French fries. They said her food, what she eats, is definitely unique for autism. Like, I mean, American white cheese. And it's funny because I live in the hood, right? And the autism center is full of white women. And I'm not trying to say anything about white women, right? But when they were doing food therapy at the autism center, they buying stuff from Trader Joe's. There ain't no Trader Joe's in the hood. Ain't no Trader Joe's in the hood, okay? So they telling me she ate this or that. And I'm like, what is this or that? Like, what is it? I mean, I had to order edamame. I said, what the hell is edamame? Oh, it's a Chinese, it looks like a bean, right? There ain't no edamame in no supermarket in the greater Boston area, okay? The hood, okay? And I'm gonna tell you how Boston works. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are not from Boston. It's like saying you're from, you know, no, they're not from Boston. They're from Cambridge, okay? So if you're not from Massachusetts, fuck out of here, right? Food sensitive, right? So they're not from Boston. Where MIT and Harvard is Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I tried to explain this to someone, that if your house catches on fire and you ain't getting Boston police and fire to come to your house, you do not live in the city of Boston, right? Everybody uses cities that people recognize. If they got famous and they talk about, oh, I live in Cambridge, Mass, people are going to go, what the hell is that? Which is actually a more affluent part of, you know, the greater Boston. I call it the greater Boston area, right? Or Massachusetts, pretty affluent, right? But I live in the hood, okay? Like, New Edition came from the hood. New Kids on the Block came from the hood, the white hood, Dorchester, right? So that's who lives in the greater Boston area. Like, if you watched, what was that movie with all the Boston people? I gotta think about it. The Departed, right? And Matt Damon was trying to get this condo in Beacon Hill, right? And he's a state trooper, right? A statey, right? And the real estate agent's like, you got a co-signer? Like, if you were from Boston, you knew what that meant, right? Like, you knew no state trooper could afford to live there. That's why he looked at him, the realtor looked at him and was like, you got a co-signer? Right? I mean, there was definitely some trips in that movie that you really had to be from Boston to know, right? And he's like, no, right? So you knew it was on some shady shit, because ain't no state trooper can afford that, right? So, yeah. Being from the hood, I was also bused to a suburban school, which is actually what Ava's going to be doing. There's a lot of shit you got to deal with in that too, because I don't know if people know, but Boston's very racist too. Like, you know, they'll scream liberal, 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 but they really racist here. I don't know. There's a lot of things I could cite to prove it. I dealt with a lot of racism being bused to a white school. I remember I was in the 6th grade and this kid goes, oh, black people live in the projects. And I'm like, I live in a house. I don't live in the projects. You know what I mean? All black people live in the projects. See, it's so funny that people, you know, these little kids be educating us now, you know, microaggressions and all this. You know, I love this generation. They just bout it. But back in the day, black people knew the racism was there. They just really realized they couldn't do nothing about it, honestly. Hey, you couldn't really do nothing about it. Like, you kind of just, you know, went on. I mean, I was in college, and I went to a major college, a major state school. I couldn't afford nothing else, but that's fine. I went to a major state school. I got a scholarship, an academic scholarship to go. And I was in this class. It was a law class, business law class. And this woman said, out the blue now, there's only 2 black people in the class. Me and the girl on the track team. I don't run for... Hi, my name is John. Hi. I don't run, but it was me and the girl on the track team. And she's explaining slander. And she's like, I hope I have your permission for this. But if I was to call you an N-word bitch, that would be slanderous. I'm like, did she just? And I look at the other black girl and she looking at me in a sea of white kids. And I'm like, no, he didn't. And then I went to the dean and they kind of covered it up. And she gave me a good grade. And that was kind of that, right? Then I'm in an English class. And, you know, because the racism was real, right? And I'm in an English class. I think I'm the only black one in this particular English class, right? Because I went to a school with 20,000 students, 12% minority. And they're talking like all minorities. The Asians, the Indians, the Dominicans, everybody was in this 12%, right? So a sea of white children, right? So I'm in this English class, and the dude goes, they said, well, why do you call each other the N-word? And I'm like, you talking to me? You know, they're like, yeah. I said, I'm not the black people oracle. I said, did you hear me call anybody the N-word? Well, no. I said, well, why do white people live in trailer parks? You got the answer? And I was just insulted that you want me. I mean, this ain't no science fiction movie. All black people do not share the same brain. We are not one collective, you know. But that's what I felt like, you know. We're fighting the collective. You know, the collective, we're all the same type things, right? And it's so funny because Boston is a melting pot, you know. Yeah. Autism Mom Uncensored from New York, right? What people don't realize is New York is a port of entry, right? So when people come to this country, they come to New York, they come to the ports of entry, right? Well, a lot of people at the time, this is when I was growing up, migrated to Boston from New York because it was cheaper. It ain't really cheaper no more, but at the time, it was cheaper. So Boston is a melting pot of different people, ethnicities or whatever. And I get to college. Now, my mom's side is like Black South. You know what I mean? Let's just say kind of, I got to plug in my phone, kind of slave ship situation. And my father's side, hold on, plugging in the phone. It's Cape Verdean. I don't know if, you know, people don't tend to know what Cape Verde is. Cape Verde is an island off the coast of West Africa that was invaded by the Portuguese. So they speak Portuguese and a Creole Portuguese. So, and my father's father was half white, half black, and my father's mother was Cape Verdean. So, when I get to college, I'm like, well, they're like, well, what are you? This is black people, like, you know, brown and black people. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, what are you? I said, black. No, you're something or whatever. And I said, Cape Verde? Yes, that's what you are. Like, you know, like I had to put a country with it or something. Like, I can't just be black. No. I felt that was interesting because, you know, I grew up just, you know, as a black woman because pretty much my mother's family raised me. I wasn't really close to my father's family like that. Even though I look similar to them. Any questions? We're down to 5 people. We don't jump from, when it gets down to 2 or 1, I'm going to roll out. I've been on here a while. Drink the rest of my wine. Watch some Netflix. I found this, I've been ODing on Netflix lately. It's like I find a good thing and I just start binging my ass off. What was it? Something Carbon with Anthony Mackie. You notice Anthony Mackie been on everything. Like when you look through Netflix and Amazon, he be on like 10 things. Like Anthony Mackie doing the damn thing. He all over the place. But I was binging on, what was it? Is it Arbin? Something copy. Bye, Katie. I'm gonna be doing some more lives. I need to do some more lives, so I will be doing some more lives. I'm trying to get the hang of it. This is the first one. But, you know, if anybody got some Netflix suggestions, please let me in. Travelers. Never seen that one. Please let me in on some Netflix suggestions. The Waterman movie is a new one. The Waterman? What's that about? Is that going to be my weekend? I'll look it up. I'll search it for real. Don't give me a good series because I'll be watching it. And Ava be looking at me crazy. The thing I love about Ava, though, and I don't know if it's because she's an only child and I was an only child, she's very independent. She will go do her thing, be in her room. She likes being by herself, which is cool. You know, when she wants me, she seeks me out. So that's cool. I love that. She's not a real needy child at all. The Waterman. I'm about to look that up after I get off of here. I don't even know what time it is. I can't tell. I like her, Rosario Dawson. I ain't seen her in nothing in a long time. Wasn't she dating that senator? Cory Booker. I watched the first season of Once Upon a Time and then I lost interest. It seemed like they were stretching it after that, and then they had like 7 seasons. But I watched the first one. Rosario Dawson was dating that Senator Cory Booker. People ain't feeling him though, because Bernie, I love Bernie. I don't know, and we ain't talking about politics, but I guess Bernie had some, this when Trump was in office, some measure about lowering pharmaceutical costs, like medicine. And Cory Booker, or whatever his name was, went against it. Because, you know, in New Jersey, he get a lot of money from the pharmaceutical industry. And they roasted him. Oh my God. They took that man to task. They done raked his ass over the coals. After that happened, he done backtracked on a dime. I feel like my generation in politics was uninformed and uninvolved. Married at First Sight. I can't imagine. I can't watch that because there ain't no way I'm marrying some man I just laid eyes on. There's too many things I would need to know over time. I feel like that's Desperation Central, or that's just I want to be on TV. So it's funny. I feel like my generation in politics was kind of hands off. But that's also, I didn't grow up with social media. Computers were introduced when I was in middle school. I mean, I'm an old head. We didn't have computers. We had one phone in the house that was usually in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? Oh, it's so funny. It's got to be funny. Because I can think of the guys I just met off the... and then you get to know their asses and you're like, this ain't gonna work. I did meet someone that got married after 6 months and they lasted a long time, but that's a fluke. That's a fluke. I couldn't do the Married at First Sight. But yeah, I'm just, you know what? I got a secret. I gotta tell on myself. I'm like addicted to TikTok. Like, I know I'm too old to be addicted to TikTok, but I am freaking addicted to TikTok. And I have friends that do not have TikTok. They crazy too. Well, you know, reality shows aren't good unless they crazy. But, so I have friends that do not have TikTok. But I be sending them all the TikToks on Facebook Instant Message. And they be loving it. But they refuse to sign up for TikTok. These youngins are creative as hell. It's a modern day arranged marriage. I don't know. Did you ever see the movie The Namesake? The Namesake. And he was Indian, right? And they do the arranged marriage, and the wife ends up cheating on him. TikTok is like, TikTok's hilarious. I'm sorry. And their algorithm, whatever the hell their algorithm is the bomb, because they figure out what you like, and they just keep showing it to you and showing it to you. And I just, oh my God, like, I'm about to go to bed. I'm about to go to bed, and I'm just flipping, and an hour done passed. It's good. I don't know. I mean, I do want the black creators to get more, you know, more shine. But other than that, I love me some TikTok. And I'm trying to grow my social media. So again, I'll say check me out on YouTube, Boston Girl TV. And the Facebook, Autism Armstrong, you know, that word ain't getting to me. And TikTok, Boston Girl TV, I kind of keep it the same other than the Facebook. Yeah, The Namesake was good. The Namesake was good because I do, like, if you notice, like, if you're from a place that's a melting pot, they got two generations. First, meaning the first generation, as you say, fresh off the boat, the family who gets here originally that have roots in their prior country, right? Then you got the first generation, right? So that the first generation born on U.S. soil, right? Sometimes you can keep them close to the culture, whatever culture they come from or whatever. But by the second generation, they Americanized now. Now, they don't want to do what your culture says. They in the United States. This, and that. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember I had this job, and this girl was Indian. And her father told her she was 25 and over the hill, and she needs to get married. That's what he said. You're 25, you need to get married. She told me she didn't like Indian men. She liked black men, right? So, and the thing about Indians, they're equal opportunity hate, not going for it. They don't want them to marry a white man, a black man, a Chinese. They want them to marry their Indian, their type of Indian, and where they are in the caste system, right? They don't want nobody else. So, the father was like, you need to get married. If you don't find you somebody here that we approve of, we're going to send you over to India with your uncle who's going to oversee this. And he's going to find you a husband, and you're going to marry him in India, and then we're going to ship him back over here in 9 months, and y'all going to work it out. So she finds an Indian guy she's attracted to. He lives in New Jersey, right? But he was lower than her in the caste system. They boycotted that wedding. They didn't even go. The parents didn't even go. After they forced this child to get married, she didn't want to get married. But they were about to cut her off. I was like, wow, this is deep. This is deep. You know what I mean? So in The Namesake, they were kind of both into the tradition, but you could tell that the next generation wasn't down, you know. Because by the end of the movie, the daughter was with a black man. And the son, the wife had cheated on him. And I don't think he had nobody at the end or whatever. But you know the guy who played the son, for a long time, he was the only Indian stand-in. Like, I don't even know if he's from India, but they put him in every movie that was Indian, Pakistani, whatever. Like, he was just the token Indian for a long time. They done switched it up a little now, but he was for a long time. You know it's a good movie if you want to binge? Special. It's about a gay guy who has cerebral palsy. So, Special Needs. It's called Special. It's on Netflix. And the Indian girl on there is hilarious. She is freaking hilarious. I binge watched that too, both seasons. It's pretty good. If you want to check out that on Netflix. What are y'all doing tonight? I got 5 people in the room. 5 people in the room. I don't know. Wow, 25 though. Right. He said she was too old. 25. He wasn't letting it get to 26. Like, she needed to be married before 26. The Circle was okay. What's The Circle about? You gonna make me write this down. Oh my God, because I will forget. You see me drinking this wine. The Circle. And The Water. What was that? The Water. Something. I think it was Water. Music and relaxing, girl. Oh. Okay, so Ava's had a dandruff issue because it was all my damn fault because I put some on her hair and it kind of infected her scalp. And then, they had to put her on some antibiotics for a second. And then we've been trying dandruff shampoos, but they don't work unless you wash your hair often. And she could not deal with the washing of the hair. Bye, Lena Walker 11. Good night. I don't know what time it is. I'm about to go to bed after the story. So she ain't a fan of the whole washing of the hair, right? And I put on some Pandora old school, and I'm just singing to her while she's standing in the shower. And I was getting my rhythm back. I'd be like, now my music is considered old school. But the funny thing is, my generation, our parents used to play a lot of music. So I know things from the 60s and the 70s and 80s. 80 was the bomb. 80s was the bomb, right? 90s was pretty cool, but you can't beat the 80s and the 90s music. That was like it. The Waterman. Okay, I got it. Wrote it down. I don't want to forget. Sipping on my wine, right? So, yeah. It's like catfishing. Oh, okay. That catfishing is so funny because I used to internet date a lot. Like, a lot. Like, that was my main source of dating. And I went on a date with this dude, and he looked like a 400-pound Indian. And then he done sent me somebody else's picture. And I'm like, why would you do all that if you're going to meet the person? Like, it makes no sense. You're going to actually meet the person. Why would you send me and then show up and it ain't you? I love your content and your does. Oh, thank you. I'm listening to Tasha Cole. Who's that? Tasha Cobbs? Yeah. I mean, if you want to ever hear about my internet dating stories, I got a lot. Oh, a social media experiment. I watched He's All That. And the only reason I watched it is because I remember She's All That. I'm like, wow, these little teen comedies are getting worse and worse and worse. Like, they ain't got nothing on our old teen comedies. I'm like, they just throw this stuff together. That's what it looked like. They just thrown together. Oh, she's a gospel artist. You know what? I never really got into gospel, but there's definitely some artists that I was all about. Mary, like them. Donnie McClurkin, like him. Franklin was kind of like a hype man. Did he ever really sing? You know, there's another one. There's certain songs I would be jamming to, like, you know, that was on main. You know, I'm not really a music person. I had all these CDs I never used and just kind of threw out. No, I might need to check her out. Now that music's free and it's not like you gotta go to the store and get it, I could just look it up on Pandora. Let me write it down. Tasha Cobbs. You know, I forget everything. My mother's my secretary. She don't want to be my secretary, but she does. I wrote it down. Tasha Cobbs. I'll check her out on Pandora. Oh my God. How old are you? Because when you say old school, I need a reference point of how old are you. Resort to Love. I think it's the title. Oh, I saw that when the dude leaves her and gets married to someone else. Resort to Love. Stephanie Mills. Nah, what generation were you born in? Were you born in the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s? Because then, oh my God, Luther Vandross. Now, you a Luther fan. Come on. I mean, yeah, I was born in the 70s too. 75 to be exact. So, yeah, that's old school. You know, that's like when music was music, right? Like, I'm sorry. And you know, being born in the 70s, I was 5 in the 80s. Oh, yeah. I love the 80s. You know what's funny? I feel like the 80s, it wasn't white or black music. It was just music. Because people were on all sides. Like, what's his name? Lionel Richie was writing country. Then we had Tina Marie with Rick James. Then Tina Turner was doing rock music. It was just like all equal opportunity at the time. You know, it seems very segregated now. Oh yeah, Rick James and Tina Marie. It seems very polarized and segregated now, whereas music was music back then, and a lot of different artists work with each other too. But I feel like the music industry's corrupt. If you're not like a Prince or a Michael Jackson or somebody who makes hit after hit after hit, you're gonna end up broke. Kenny G. Yeah. How about John B? John B. Kenny G. And you know what? Back then there were real singers. Like, you knew people really could sing. Like the Arethas and the Toni Braxtons, and like they could really sing. You didn't know if it was something made in a studio. All right, peeps. How do we feel about my first live? Well, it ain't my first live, but my first live series, episode 1. How did I do? I think I'm gonna call it a night. I might sign on again tomorrow and figure out how all this stuff works. Sting. Oh my God, yes, Sting. How about U2? U2 is the bomb. U2. Who else? There was a lot of them. Bon Jovi. It was awesome. You definitely kept it alive, Sexy 69. Let me take off my light I had. Have a good night, people. Finally got 7 people. I'm going to bed. All that wine. I did good. Thank you. I will do more. I will do more. Definitely. Good night.